Buddhism in Cambodia provides for a good environment to begin the search for truth and reconciliation after the Khmer Rouge, but it does not go far enough. Hello, as Professor Reed mentioned, my name is Ali Battat. I'm a sophomore majoring in international relations and Chinese. Last summer, I participated in the Problems Without Passports Cambodia program, and I focused my research on how Buddhism, which is a religion that claims about 96% of all Cambodians, plays a role in the reconciliation process after the Khmer Rouge genocide. The Khmer Rouge were Cambodia's Communist Party, and they marched into Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia, victoriously on April 17, 1975. They immediately began instigating their social reforms. I say reforms, which would claim the lives of over 1 million people until they were ousted by the Vietnamese in 1979. In the course of almost 4 years, about a quarter of the Cambodian population would be killed. And people were killed from starvation, from execution, from torture, many ways. The Khmer Rouge, as part of their reform, evacuated everyone from the cities and relocated them to the countryside, where everyone was forced to do hard labor in the rice fields. Even Buddhist monks were ordered to denounce their religion and become like everyone else, tilling the ground, eating meat, sometimes even forced into marriages. Senior monk leaders were executed, and the Khmer Rouge destroyed thousands of temples, pagodas, and libraries, just a fixture of their culture for so long destroyed. Even now, 32 years after the Khmer Rouge were ousted, the effect on the Buddhist institution is still felt. Today, the United Nations has set up a tribunal court within Cambodia, in Phnom Penh, the capital, and it's called the ETriple C, which stands for the Extraordinary Chambers in the Courts of Cambodia. The ETriple C is trying to bring both punitive justice as well as national reconciliation to the people of Cambodia by prosecuting the top 5 Khmer Rouge leaders that are still alive today. This is a good first step because it's been 30 years and there hasn't really been much done to achieve some sort of justice in Cambodia. And the ETriple C it's forcing to the surface events that people have long remembered, but that they have rarely spoken aloud about. And people are starting to talk about the Khmer Rouge and what happened because of the ETriple C. A majority of Cambodians do support the court and what they're trying to do, but it's an international, the international community is what's behind the court, and it's in Phnom Penh, and for a lot of people in Cambodia that's far away and something that's so far removed from their own lives, and they still want something more, they want something tangible. The ETriple C is bringing legal justice, but it's not really bringing social justice. And I think that there needs to be a lot more done if there's going to be full reconciliation in Cambodia. Buddhism is generally considered probably the least violent religion in the world. And it would kind of seem that it's a natural teaching of Buddhism for forgiveness and to teaching about forgiveness. But there's actually no specific instruction for people to be forgiving. Instead, what Buddhism emphasizes is refraining from vengeance. One of my favorite statements in Buddhism is, "Vindictiveness is ended by not being vindictive." So then, does not seeking vengeance translate into automatic forgiveness? Not necessarily. Buddhists are supposed to defer to a higher power when they're trying to seek justice. They should leave it to karma and fate to decide. You shouldn't try and be proactive about finding your own justice. We did an interview with a woman named Thierry Sung, who founded the Center for Justice and Reconciliation in Cambodia. She's actually a survivor herself. And she said that Buddhists generally aren't proactive people, and it's due to heavy Buddhist influence. But just because one is told not to seek vengeance and that they should let go because higher powers and karma will justify it in the end, it doesn't really mean that people are naturally inclined to forgive, and particularly that they're not going to forget it. Reconciliation is a new term for Buddhists and Cambodians. We did an interview in Kampong Tom province with a woman, and she today lives in the same village as the man who killed her husband under the Khmer Rouge. He was a Khmer Rouge cadre. And after the Khmer Rouge were ousted, the woman's son wanted to go and kill him for revenge for his father. But along the way, he sort of tripped in a well and injured himself and was forced to turn back. And the family kind of took this as, oh, karma is telling us that we shouldn't get involved. And so they haven't done anything since. So we asked her, the man still lives, your neighbors, what do you do when you see him? And she says, oh, we just ignore him. We don't like to talk to him. But they're still so angry, and they still have so many unanswered questions. They want to know what happened to their father and their husband. But there's just no retribution because neither side is willing to come forward and speak about the past. They're both afraid of the other. And this is where I kind of think it plays into dehumanization, in that Buddhism, it's telling people to let go of the past, but I think it's forcing them to suppress their natural tendencies of what they would normally do. And I'm obviously not advocating that the victims go and murder all their perpetrators, in part because I believe in a gray line between perpetrators and victims. But what you see it gets translated into is people not wanting to talk about it, and people, in favor of this harmonious environment that their religion is advocating, they're not willing to bring up the past. And so nobody talks about it, but they're still so angry. You can tell when you speak to them. So Buddhism emphasizes letting go, and it emphasizes not being vindictive and not seeking vengeance. But this doesn't guarantee forgiveness and truth-telling between victims and perpetrators, because simply letting go of the past is not conducive to achieving reconciliation. It allows people to close the door on what happened, but without confronting it. And I think that if Cambodia is ever going to achieve full reconciliation, they need to look back on their past and come to terms with it before they can truly move forward. But I don't think that this actually means that Buddhism is obstructing the reconciliation process. It does provide this stable environment and this good foundation in which victims and perpetrators and Cambodians can come together to speak about the past and to start truth-telling and to start dialogue. I think that this is very important because, especially in Cambodia, since the Khmer Rouge and before, there really hasn't been a stable government. The Vietnamese came, there was civil war, now the government's corrupt, but Buddhism is kind of this one stable fixture that's always there, and now it's starting to reemerge as a big part of their culture. And I think it can do a lot of good if the Buddhist institution, the Buddhist authority kind of comes out and says, we need to take this harmonious environment that we're encouraging you to uphold, but we need to start truth-telling and we need to start talking, because I think that's one of the most important ways for Cambodians to achieve reconciliation. Another thing is education. But this needs to come from within, and I think it needs to come from people that the Cambodians can trust. There's not a lot of people that Cambodians trust now, but I think their religion they do trust and they do listen to. So I think it needs to come from within, and especially the Buddhist authority, in order to achieve full reconciliation. Lastly, I just wanted to share a story that I think kind of sums all of this up. We did another interview in Takeo province of this one woman, and she was a former school teacher. And during the interview, her friend, another woman in the village, sat next to us the entire time. She sat next to me, and at one point she held my hand. It was kind of emotional, but I don't really know why, but I thought it was very sweet of her. But the woman that we interviewed, the school teacher, her name was Koi, and she was very passionate. She was very emotional. Her father was killed under the Khmer Rouge. She was educated, so she was targeted and tortured and imprisoned, and you could really tell, and she has a lot of anger, and rightly so. And it was just very emotional. But the friend just she sat by, she didn't really say anything. She was very quiet, very sweet look on her face. And then after the interview, we learned from our professors and from the translators that we were working with that Koi, the school teacher, was known to, after the Khmer Rouge were overthrown and she became a school teacher in the village, she was known to be a lot more harsh on pupils that were children of former Khmer Rouge cadres. So she was, in essence, taking out her anger on the children of Khmer Rouge cadres. And then at the same time, or conversely, the woman who sat next to us, the one who held my hand, she lost all 9 of her children under the Khmer Rouge. but yet hasn't really shown any outburst of anger today, or she's just known as someone who's very giving and very peaceful. And you look at her, and she definitely looks like she's found some sort of inner peace. And I don't really know exactly what goes on inside. She probably is angry, but I just thought it was interesting that both two women who claim to be Buddhist, who are Buddhist, and yet the religion has caused them to find different paths to dealing with the past. But the woman, I don't remember her name, the one who sat next to us and held my hand, but she doesn't know it, but she had a very big impact on me. And I think I would kind of like to dedicate this to her, and this is her and me. Thank you.